The request of fire crackled inside the small alien cave. Wind howled outside. Cold air moved through the cracks like invisible fingers. Elias Stone, the only human on the scout team, sat near the fire with his hands close to the flame. His breath came out as mist. He had seen war. He had seen death. But this was just silence, and it was almost worse. Across from him sat Selah, the Sarani woman. She was different from most aliens he had met, quiet, curious, and always watching him with wide silver eyes. Her skin was soft blue, with tiny glowing patterns that pulsed when she felt strong emotions. Tonight, her lights flickered gently, like a heartbeat. The rescue ship had missed its last check-in. Supplies were low. The team had found this cave 2 days ago, after a dust storm forced them off route. There were 5 of them, but Selah had stayed closest to Elias. She said she liked his stillness. He didn't know what she meant, but he didn't argue. Then, as the wind screamed louder, Selah scooted closer. Her long cloak dragged against the rock floor. She looked at Elias with a calm expression and asked, in a soft voice, "May I sit on your lap?" The words hit him like a weapon. His hands froze in the air. His heart skipped a beat. He looked at her, unsure if he had heard right. "I'm sorry?" he said carefully. Selah tilted her head, confused. "I asked if I may sit on your lap. It is cold. You are warm. We share body heat, yes?" Elias swallowed hard. His throat felt dry. On Earth, sitting on someone's lap, especially like this, meant something different. It was intimate, personal. You didn't just ask a stranger, or even a friend, to sit on their lap. Selah was still waiting. Her glowing skin now flickered. With slight worry, Elias started, but no full sentence came out. "You do not want me close?" she asked gently. "Did I offend you?" He shook his head fast. No, it's not that. For humans, sitting on someone's lap is not always a normal thing." She blinked slowly. "It is for us. I know," he said. "It's just different for me." The cave went quiet again, except for the sound of the fire. Selah didn't move. She looked down at her hands. "I see. You fear touch. Many humans do. You fear connection." That stung more than he expected. "It's not fear, just complicated," he said, softer now. She looked back up, meeting his eyes. "Complicated is fine. I will sit here." She moved a bit away and curled up against the wall, wrapping her cloak tighter. "But thank you for not being angry." Elias stared at the fire. His mind wasn't on the flames. It was far away years ago, on Earth. In the memory, another woman had sat on his lap once, laughing. Her name was Lila. She was gone now, dead in a bombing during the first contact war. He hadn't let anyone that close since. He glanced at Selah. She wasn't like Lila. She wasn't even human. But somehow, her question had opened something in him he didn't want to face. "You didn't do anything wrong," he said, breaking the silence. Selah gave a small smile. "That is good. I like asking. Consent, yes? That is the human word." He nodded. "I did not know your customs," she added. "I still learn." He managed a weak smile. "We're all learning out here." For a long time, they said nothing. The fire crackled. The storm roared. Somewhere far above, stars watched them both silent. Distant, cold dot, but inside the cave, something warmer had started to form. Not trust, not yet, but maybe the start of it. Dot and Elias? He still didn't know how to answer her question. Not really, but maybe next time he wouldn't freeze. Misunderstanding the storm outside kept howling all night. Inside the cave, the fire grew weak. Elias added the last dry wood they had. Sparks floated up like tiny stars before fading in the cold air. Selah didn't speak much after that strange moment. She stayed wrapped in her long cloak, sitting near the wall. Her glowing skin pulsed slowly dim and quiet, but she kept glancing at Elias' dot in the morning. Light filtered through the cracks above. The wind had died down, but the air still carried frost. The team gathered for a short meal-dried rations and warm water from a heat pack. Selah sat beside Elias, but not close like before. She looked down at her food, then said softly, "Do you still think I was wrong?" Elias turned to her. "No," he said, "you weren't wrong. Then why did you look afraid?" "I wasn't afraid," he lied. "Just surprised. You froze. Your eyes went wide. That is fear." Her voice was calm, but her face showed confusion. He sighed. "It's not simple, Selah. On Earth, sitting on someone's lap can mean love, or desire, or a very close bond. It's not just about heat or comfort." Selah raised an eyebrow. "And you thought I wanted that?" Elias looked down. "No, I knew you didn't mean it that way. But still, it felt personal. Too close. I wasn't ready." Selah nodded slowly. "I think I understand now." She paused. "You see my closeness as something deep, sacred. You protect it like a fire you don't want touched." He looked up, surprised by her words. "Sarani don't think the same," she added. "To us, closeness is safety. We grew up in cold, dark places. We survived through contact, warmth, shared breath. Sitting on someone's lap is not love, it is care." Elias gave a weak smile. "I guess we humans make everything more dramatic." Selah tilted her head. "That is true." They both laughed. Softly. For a moment, the tension between them melted, but then Selah's smile faded. "I hope I didn't break trust." "No," Elias said quickly. "You didn't. Then, will you allow it, if I ask again?" "Not now, but someday." Elias looked at her. Her silver eyes didn't beg. They simply waited open and kind, Dot. He hesitated. "Maybe," he said at last, Dot. She nodded once. "Then I will not ask again until that day." Suddenly, a loud beep echoed. In the cave, "Signal spike," one of the other crew members called out. "Rescue ship," said the burst ping. "They're trying to reach us." Elias stood up fast. "How close?" "Too far. Still 4 days out. We're on our own until then." Selah stood too, brushing dust off her cloak. "Then we must stay warm," she said, giving Elias a small, playful look. "But no touching, I promise." Elias chuckled. "Thanks for the warning." That night, as they sat by the fire again, something had changed between them. She didn't ask to sit on his lap. She didn't need to. She sat beside him, not too far, not too close. Her shoulder brushed his for just a moment, and that was enough that the cold didn't feel so sharp anymore, not because the fire was stronger, but because the space between them had softened. Close but distant for the next 2 days, the storm faded, but the cold stayed. The rescue ship was still far. The team used their rations carefully. They took turns standing guard. But inside the cave, time moved slowly, like ice crawling across. Stone. Elias sat near the fire again. He didn't say much. He rarely did. But his eyes kept moving to the cave mouth, to the signal device, and sometimes to Selah. She didn't ask to sit on his lap again. She kept her promise, but she stayed close. Always near the edge of his shadow, always quiet. Sometimes Elias could feel her eyes on him, watching, curious, like she was waiting, but not for orders. One evening, as the others slept, Selah picked up a small stone and began to draw patterns in the dirt floor. Elias looked over. "What are you drawing?" She kept her eyes on the lines. "The homes of my people, Sarani caves. Warm, deep, full of light plants. We sleep close. Touch keeps." U.S. alive. He nodded. Sounds peaceful. It was long ago. She paused. Before the war. Elias said nothing. He knew war. Too well. Selah continued, her voice lower now. Our people feared closeness after the war. We began to separate. To sleep alone. To speak less. But some of us still try to keep the old ways. She looked at him. You are not used to closeness. Either. Elias gave a small smile. That's true. You carry pain, she said softly. I see it in your silence. He didn't reply. His hands gripped his knees. His jaw tightened. She didn't press Dot instead. She whispered, It is not weakness to need warmth. The firelight flickered between them. Her skin glowed gently slow. Steady pulses like a heartbeat, but she didn't move closer. She just stayed Dot, not touching, not pushing Dot, just near. Elias felt something shift in him, not big, not loud, but real Dot. He had kept himself apart for a long time. It was easier that way, less pain, less memory. But now, in this cold cave, her quiet presence felt different, not safe, not soft, not weak, just honest. That night, they didn't talk much, but they didn't need to. He passed her a heat pack. She smiled and took it. He shifted his coat so it touched her cloak. Just a little. She didn't say anything. She just kept drawing in the dirt. The patterns turned into stars. The next day, the air grew colder. A warning sign blinked on the signal device. Incoming ice storm 12 hours. They had to prepare. The cave was shallow. Too exposed. The team found a second chamber, deeper and safer. But it was small. Very small. Barely enough space for all 5 to lie down. When night came, Elias laid out his pack and tried to rest. The others curled into blankets. Selah lay beside him, not touching, but close. As the wind howled through the rocks again, Elias turned his head. Still cold? He asked. She nodded. Yes, but I will not ask. He thought for a moment. Then, slowly, carefully, he lifted one arm. Come closer, he said. She moved gently into the space beside him. Her body was light, her skin warm against his jacket. She did not sit on his lap. She just rested beside him. But somehow, that meant more. And in the dark, as frost painted the cave mouth white, Elias finally closed his eyes and slept, not as a soldier, not as a survivor, but as a man who, for once, was not alone. The fire and the storm, the wind returned like a monster. By nightfall, the storm had become something worse. Sharp, screening wind and freezing air so cold it cut through clothing like knives. Even deep inside the cave, the temperature dropped fast. The heat packs were nearly empty. The firewood was gone. Their rations were frozen solid. Elias stood at the cave mouth, watching white snow blow across the rocks. He'd seen death before, but this cold, this wasn't a quick death. This was slow, silent, waiting. We won't last till morning, like this, said Jenko, one of the team members. This cave's too shallow. There's nowhere else to go, said another. And the rescue ship's still 2 days out. Elias looked back at Selah. She was curled up in a corner, shaking badly. Her cloak wasn't enough. Her glowing skin dimmed, blinking weakly. Her eyes were open but distant. She was slipping under. He rushed over and dropped to his knees. Selah, he said, tapping her cheek gently. Hey, stay with me. She blinked slowly. I'm cold, she whispered. He didn't wait. Without asking, Elias unzipped his thermal coat and pulled her into his lap. Her body was freezing. Her hands felt like ice. He wrapped the coat around both of them and held her close. She didn't resist. She just rested her head against his chest, her breath short and shaking. Hold on, he whispered. You're going to be okay. I didn't mean, she murmured, eyes barely open. I didn't want to make it strange before. It wasn't strange, Elias said. It was just new, for me. She gave a tiny smile. I feel warm now. Good, he said. That's all that matters. The others didn't speak. They knew this was survival now. Pride had no place here. Elias held her tighter. Her skin began to glow again, soft, steady. He could feel her chest rise and fall against his. Her body started to warm slowly. Outside, the storm screamed louder. But inside the coat, inside that small space between them, there was warmth. And something else, not love, not yet. But trust, Selah whispered. You let me in. Elias nodded. I guess I did. I will remember this, she said softly. On my world, this would be a bond. He didn't reply. His heart was beating hard now, but not from the cold. Had never expected this. Never planned for it. But in that moment, as the wind tore at the cave, as death waited outside, Elias realized something. He didn't want to be alone anymore, and she didn't either. They stayed like that for hours. Number. Words. Just warmth. Just quiet. And when the storm finally began to fade, Elias looked down at her. Her eyes were closed, but she was smiling. What it meant morning came slow and quiet. The storm was over, but the cold stayed behind. Snow had sealed half the cave entrance, blocking the light. The fire was long dead. The cave was still and heavy, like the world was holding its breath. Elias woke first. Selah was still in his lap, wrapped in his coat. Her head rested on his chest. Her breath was soft and steady now. Her skin glowed with faint blue light, again like moonlight on water. He didn't move. He didn't want to break the moment. He just watched her sleep, feeling something inside him shift. Something soft. Something real. Then she opened her eyes. Good morning, she whispered. Hey, he said gently. You okay? She nodded. Yes, you saved me. Again. We saved each other, he said. She sat up slowly, still wrapped in the coat. Last night, when you held me, was that intimacy? Elias blinked. It was, something like it. I ask because Sarani bonds begin with touch, warmth, protection. But for you, it is different. Yes, he said. For humans, physical closeness often means emotional closeness too. It's not just about warmth. It's about trust, vulnerability. She tilted her head. You are vulnerable? He smiled a little. Very. She placed her hand lightly on his. So was I. They sat in silence for a moment, just looking at each other. I used to think humans were cold, she said. Distant. Afraid of feelings. We are sometimes, Elias admitted. We carry too much in silence. But I like your silence, Selah said. It is deep, like still water. He looked down. I didn't mean to freeze that night you asked. She shook her head. It's good you did. It taught me something. That your kind feels deeply, even if you hide it. Elias felt his throat tighten. I didn't want you to think I was weak, he said. She squeezed his hand. You are not weak, Elias. You are strong in a way that matters. Then she asked, carefully, would you allow me to sit in your lap again? This time, not for heat. His eyes met hers. He didn't answer with words. He opened his arms. She climbed gently into his lap, not shaking, not cold. She wrapped her arms around him and leaned her head on his shoulder. No one spoke. No one watched. In the middle of a half-frozen cave, two souls from different stars simply held each other. She whispered, to my people, this is called seal it. It means when hearts warm before the body does. Elias nodded. We don't have a word like that, he said. Then maybe we share this one. He smiled, holding her close. Somewhere beyond the cave, the signal device blinked. The rescue ship was almost here, but neither of them moved. They weren't in a hurry, because for the first time, they understood what the moment meant. Not just safety, not just warmth, but something deeper than either had known before. More than rescue. The rescue ship arrived the next day. Its engines broke through the clouds with a loud roar. The sound echoed through the mountains, shaking snow from the cliffs. Lights blinked across the sky like stars falling backward. Inside the cave, the team gathered their things quickly. Relief was everywhere on their faces, in their voices. They laughed again. Some cried, but Elias was quiet. He stood near the cave mouth, his pack on his back. Selah stood beside him, brushing frost off her long cloak. Her glowing skin pulsed gently. "You'll go back to Earth now?" she asked. He nodded. "That's the plan. Full debrief. Been probably reassigned." She looked down. "And me? My place was on this scout mission. But now, I don't know." There was silence between them again. Not cold, just unsure. "Could request Earth," Elias said after a moment. She looked up, surprised. "You think they'd allow that?" "They might. There's a cultural exchange program starting. New alliances need bridges." She smiled. "You think I'd be a good bridge?" "I think," he said, "you already are." She stepped closer. "Back in the cave," she whispered, "when I sat in your lap the second time, it was no longer about cold. You know that, right?" He nodded. "I know. And now?" She asked. "If I wanted to sit beside you, not on you but next to you, even on your world, would that be okay?" Elias didn't speak at first. He just reached out and took her hand. Their fingers laced together slowly. "Yeah," he said softly. "I'd like that." The others called out it was time to board. As they walked toward the shuttle, Selah leaned close and whispered, "When Serani bond, they share names. My full name is Sailorin. Only those I trust may speak it." Elias looked at her, surprised. Then, "I guess I'll have to earn that." "You already did." They stepped into the shuttle together. Two people from different worlds. No longer strangers. No longer distant. Close. And as the ship rose into the sky, leaving the frozen mountains behind, Elias glanced down at the seat beside him. It wasn't empty. And for the first time in a long time, he felt like he was going somewhere worth reaching. Not because of the stars, but because of the one sitting beside him. The end.